the reason that black people are in the streets has to do with the lives they're forced to lead in this country. And they're forced to lead these lives by the indifference and the apathy and a certain kind of ignorance, a very willful ignorance, on the part of their co-citizens. Everybody knows, no matter what they do not know, that they wouldn't like to be a black man in this country. They know that, and they shut their minds against the rest of it, all the implications of being a black father, or a black woman, or a black son, and all of the implications involved in a human being's endeavor to take care of his wife, to take care of his children, to raise his children to be men and women in the teeth of a structure which is built to deny that I can be a human being, or that my child can be. The great question in the country has been, all the years that I've been living here, and I was born here 43 years ago, is what does the Negro want? And this question masks a terrible knowledge. I want exactly what you want. And you know what you want. I want to be left alone. I don't want any of the things that people accuse Negroes of wanting. And I don't hate you. I simply want to be able to raise my children in peace and arrive at my own maturity in my own way, in peace. I don't want to be defined by you. I think that you and I might learn a great deal from each other if you can overcome the curtain of my color. The curtain of my color is what you use to avoid facing the facts of our common history, the facts of American life. It is easy to call me a Negro or a nigger or a promising black man, but in fact, I'm a man like you. I want to live like you. This country is mine too. I paid as much for it as you. White means that you are European still, and black means that I'm African. And we both know, we've both been here too long. You can't go back to Ireland or Poland or England, and I can't go back to Africa. And we will live here together, or we'll die here together. And it's not I am telling you. Time is telling you. You will listen or you will perish.
Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the June 3rd edition of Rhetorically Speaking. Props to the people who are watching on Facebook Live. Props to the people who are watching on YouTube Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I always encourage everybody to go to YouTube and subscribe at Quadify LLC. And props to the people who are watching. The people who are watching on Instagram. I know y'all the ones that's late to the party, that forget to bring something. Like, I know y'all kind, because y'all don't follow directions. But no, I appreciate y'all. Listen, man, that Baldwin clip, I played it earlier on my YouTube, and it was so profound. I came across it. That was my first time hearing it within the last 48 hours or so. And again, it was so apropos to the times. I think the ghetto philosopher Beanie Siegel said the same thing, right? And he was short and sweet with it. You either gonna get down or you gonna lay down. Right? And that's what Baldwin was talking about. Listen, you either gonna get down or you gonna lay down, but we ain't going nowhere, and you need to get used to it. Such irony is that everybody loves Baldwin now, and I can't tell you how his contemporaries viewed him back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I can't tell you that. I haven't read enough to get the perspective. But here you have a queer black man who's revered by black folk these days. Even though we know how we view homosexuality and LGBTQ plus related issues in our community, I wonder how he was viewed during that period, right? Was he viewed as somebody who was, and again, we knew, he sat around with his contemporaries, with the Malcolm X's, with the, oh man, the list goes on and on about the people that he had, the Lorraine Hansberrys and the Angela Davises and all of these people with whom he's had amazing conversations with, and who were truly about that fight. But I just wonder if he was viewed in that same light like he is now. Sort of like Martin Luther King, how right now we love Martin Luther the King, right? Martin the Luther. But back then everybody hated him. We know everybody hated Martin Luther King. Majority of non-black folk disliked Martin Luther King. And so, yeah, hopefully in the midst of my readings throughout the year, throughout the rest of my life, I'm able to enlighten myself on how he was viewed during that time period. So listen, man, we got a show for y'all. We got some topics to discuss. As always, I would love to get your input. You can type in the chat. You can give us a call at 267-420-2070, or you can hit us up on Skype at rhetoricallyspeaking@gmail.com. So unless you've been under a rock, we know what's been taking place here in America and across the world within the last 7 or 8 days. There's been a lot of protests. There's been a lot of rebellions taking place after the death of the death. There I go again. After the murder of George Floyd. And so there were questions about, okay, at this point, when are y'all going to charge everybody? And so a few days after, they ended up charging Chauvin with third-degree murder, which at max, he would serve 25 years. I saw 25 years and I said, whoa, that's ridiculous. 25 years for killing somebody. It's been a First 48 marathon on all day. And I've watched young brothers get roofed from the age of 16, getting 60 years, getting 50 years. And it wasn't premeditated murder. And so and I understand different states have different statutes when it comes to murder. And so apparently third degree murder fit at the time. But lo and behold, we have today. And what took place today is that they're not officers anymore. All the chumps, all the cowards that participated in the death of George Floyd have not only been fired, but now they're in the midst of being prosecuted. For some people, this is what justice looks like. If you were watching yesterday, I don't see this as justice. I look at this as some semblance of accountability due to the irreparable harm that's been done to black and brown folk by the police for hundreds of years. And so, but for some, this will bring some sort of peace. This will look like justice. So first and foremost, Derek Chauvin, who again stood on a man's neck for 9 minutes. I don't know about y'all. I got bad knees. Right? I got bad knees. So I could barely be on the floor for 9 minutes. And with my knee bent. And so here he is assaulting in the midst of killing somebody for 9 minutes. Like, think about how long 9 minutes is. Think about when somebody might grab you and squeeze you tight for 15 seconds. How you feel in the midst of that. 9 minutes? You can't move? And not only on your neck, but we saw in the pictures, they were across his body. Thankfully, the second doctor who did the autopsy made the appropriate decision and reached the right conclusion that he died from asphyxiation due to everything, all four of those individuals. Well, three of them that was on him, and then the one guy who was just standing there like, hey, what's going on? Everybody stand back. We're police. I'm going to start calling these guys Boyd and Wynorski. That was his name, right? That was their names in House Party. Shout out to Ty Melvin. tuned in. Shout out to Ty Wilson tuned in. Wasn't their names at house party Boyd and Wynorski when they was harassing Pops for no apparent reason? Like, we've seen this story over and over and over again. We see it, we tell this story in our entertainment. We tell it everywhere about how fucked up cops are out here in this world. And so with that being said, Chauvin, his charges were upgraded to second-degree murder, which now he faces up to 40 to 45 years. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Because I watched Philando Castile get killed. I saw everything that led up to it. I saw the actual murder. And then I saw the officer get acquitted on clearly what was murder. In the same state. Correct me if I'm wrong, in the same city of Minneapolis. So we know how the justice system works in Minneapolis. To the point where they were, I believe, civil rights charges were filed against them. I don't have that data. I'll look that up in the midst of it, in the midst of this conversation, just so I can be accurate. But again, I guess I'm encouraged. I don't feel any better emotionally, mentally. I don't feel any better seeing those charges. It was like, oh, okay. I see the protest and I get a little bit encouraged that people are finally taking a stand, a long-term stand. I had a Caucasian woman hit me up in my inbox, and she wanted to politics. She wanted to have a conversation with those in particular who participated in the movement in whatever fashion they're participating in. And a part of me appreciated it because I guess she's sincere. Who am I to say she's not? But part of me was like, this ain't no movement. This is my life. This isn't something that's chic. This isn't something that's in vogue. No, this is reality. There's been plenty of times that I could have been George Floyd. And so maybe I should be able to have those teachable moment conversations with those who don't look like me. And I always battle because I say heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? To whom much is given and much is expected. And so I ask for this position when I'm putting out these quote unquote, what people say, these controversial Facebook posts. I don't think they're controversial. I just keep it real to try to get people to think out the box. And so that's going to have people wanting to have dialogue, not only amongst themselves, but with me. But then there's a part of me that says, it's not my job to do the emotional labor to teach y'all. Like, yo, at this point, if you don't get it, that's on you, cuz. And so that's what so many of us black folk get. Something that we continue to battle with. Because we know the conversations are necessary. But then it's just like, yo, we've been talking forever. Y'all white folk who are enlightened, y'all need to start talking to those who are not. What say you? I don't know. Maybe it's just me who feels this way. The bull with the hieroglyphic letters, right? That's Raphael. He says, it is your job. Of course it's your job. Listen, I hear you. I hear you. But it's emotionally taxing. It is. To continue to have the conversation over and over again. At some point, I'm human. And I want to say, no, F y'all. Go read a book. Which of the white folks are the enlightened again? Some people have more awareness than others. And I ain't gonna let you hijack hijack the show. Some have more information than others, right? Some have a greater sense of awareness than others. So go talk to my man Michael Olnick, who I have on here every Monday. I'll give you his Instagram information. It's like Syphian something. Go talk to him. He's a white man who has some awareness. That's his job. And so with that being said, the other three officers were charged. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Kung. Not Kuhn, but Kung. Those were the individuals who helped detain Floyd. And then you had Tao Thao, who was the one standing there, the Asian gentleman. So they're all complicit. And those three were charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. The former is punishable by up to 40 years. The latter, up to 10 years in prison. And so here we are. Chino on IG says, if not you, then who? But some just don't care or refuse to learn or understand. Exactly. And that's why I say heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'll take it. I'm willing to have the conversations. But sometimes I'm not. Again, I get conflicted. Sometimes you want to say, get out of my face, white woman. That's just instinctively. But then again, I have to take a step back. I have to show grace. I have to recognize that somebody wants to learn. Somebody wants to participate. Some of them wants to be a part of the ally. But somebody wants to be an ally. And so it's up to the individual. Who wants to teach, who wants to inform white folk of what's happening. Because in the last story that I get into with Drew Brees, who's around Negroes all the time, yeah, he has no idea. And so when you start thinking about how futile it can be and how counterproductive it can be to have conversations with certain people over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, like my man Marshawn Lynch said, sometimes you just want to run through them up the face. But again, I'm encouraged. I'm not going to say it's justice because I understand how this quote-unquote justice system works. But again, what say you? Maybe if you feel like it's justice, let me know. My mother says I was listening to Joe Madison. It's not our job. It's bees when they ask, what do black people want? It's simple. We want you to get off our necks. It's as simple as that. That's a no-brainer. Facts. And that's when Baldwin was just talking about, y'all either going to get down or you're going to lay down. And if you can't read the writing on the wall, then that's up to you. That's up to you. And so I'm thankful I don't have to spend so much time on this story. What does Ari Wellness? Justice in this country is always smoke and mirrors. Shout out to Andre, who's tuned in on IG Live. Yeah, again, justice is smoke and mirrors. And so I choose not to even connect with those type of situations emotionally as I get this tornado warning on my phone. Make sure y'all taking shelter because the tornado is out. I know a lot of y'all got that as well. Bruh. But we're going to keep the party going. Now this next story is real. This next story is real. as we transition, it hurt my heart. It hurt my heart to see what happened to this young woman, Ayanna Dior, who was a black trans woman who was beaten by a mob of people in the same city, in the same state where George Floyd was murdered. And in this case, there was an attempted murder where they tried to kill this black trans woman. Anytime you have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 beating up on one person, that's attempted murder. I didn't need to watch the video. Y'all know how I feel about videos. I was conflicted because I was going to play the video because some of y'all need that. And so even me having this conversation and me saying the brutal beating of a black transgender woman, some of y'all are not going to be able to feel that. See, when you're a black man and you read that somebody had the knee on their neck for 10 minutes, me saying that my neck starts to get tight. I start to feel that because I can relate. I can understand. And so unfortunately, y'all need to see video to relate to the black trans person's experience here in America. Because you can't look at the fact and just recognize that they're black. It was a brother who commented on my post, and I was about to respond back. But again, we talking about that emotional energy, and I've been taxed today. Because we know what COVID is doing to the mind, body, and the spirit. And he said something to the effect of, yeah, this is disgusting. Even though I don't agree with the LGBTQ lifestyle, they should be able to live free and make their own choices and live life as they see fit. And I'm like, cool. But why do we have to qualify it when it comes to others? And I may still go back and make this point. Like, this is a safe space. My page is a safe space. You can leave the unhealthy tenets of masculinity somewhere else. And it was a sister who came on that echoed the same sentiments. Like, in this situation, why do I care if you agree with the LGBTQ plus lifestyle? Why can't you just view them as black and say, yo, this is effed up. This is disgusting. And leave it there. Nah, because you got to make it known for those who might be watching. So you can validate to yourself that you are who you say you are. Again, when we talk about the internalized white supremacy, and this is coming from the blackest of people. Like, from what I see from this brother, he's super pro-black. And I appreciate a lot of the work that he does. But sometimes the wool is so over our eyes, especially as black men, when we are we're becoming, and I keep saying it, we become the same thing that we speak out against. We become the oppressor. And it's little things like that. You might be saying, Phil, I mean, all he's saying is he already said, yo, she already said, yo, yeah, this isn't, like, this is a messed up situation. But when you got to qualify it, and just to affirm to people that you're against it, there's room for more growth. But back to the subject at hand, which is important, especially in situations like this, because we don't want the focus to go from Ayanna Dior to those who don't agree with her lifestyle. So as I said, she was beaten by a mob of people. And this came reportedly after a minor fender bender. Again, I'm not there. I wasn't, I'm not privy to what happened. the stories that I read have all had a little bit of information saying it was just a minor fender bender. But again, I don't know what warrants a dozen people hopping on somebody. I don't know what warrants that. Right? In my eyes, nothing. In my eyes, there's nothing that warrants dozens of people physically assaulting somebody. If you want to have them a fair one, give them a fair one. If somebody wanted to step up to her and say, yo, give me a fair one, I'm perfectly fine with that. But when you do that, there's some underlying hate, there's some underlying rage, which already has been festering as a result of the George Floyd deaths, as a result of the systemic oppression that's been taking place. It's not an excuse. But like I always say, this anger has to go somewhere. This frustration has to go somewhere. And so, yeah, if you're one of the people that participated in this brutal display of violence, it might not necessarily have been because she's a trans person. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's not because she's a trans person. Thankfully, she didn't die. Thankfully, she didn't die. Unlike the death of Tony McDade, who's a 38-year-old black trans man who was shot and killed by the police in Tallahassee, Florida. Again, protests have been taking place with regards to that. I don't have the specifics. They're Googleable. Unlike the murder of Nina Pop, who was found dead in her apartment in Missouri early last month. Again, trans folk are dying, and the attention ain't there. Black women are dying, and the attention ain't there. According to the Human Rights Coalition, at least 26 transgender or gender non-conforming people were violently killed in 2019 alone, with the vast majority of the victims being black transgender women. Now, I know how y'all get. 26, that's it? 26, that's it? Okay, let's say I give you that. 26 deaths, 26 murders. Does it sound like a lot? It doesn't when we think about the number. But think about it. These are the ones that we know are murders, right? We're not talking about the violence committed against them on a daily basis, both physically and verbally. Again, shout out to Hill Harper for him walking back his unhealthy comment where he misgendered Zaya Wade. But that's an attack on your person. People be like, nah, that's not the same as a white person calling you a nigger. Well, how you gonna tell that person how to feel? If I know that I am a woman, but yet I've been born a certain way, who are you to tell me what's offensive? See, people get so caught up in their self. They get caught up in self. And we lose sight of the humanity of others. But 26 is a lot. 26 is a lot because it's not indicative of all the violence that they experience on a regular basis. And so it's critical. It's critical that we view them as black folk like they are. And it feels dumb having this conversation over and over and over and over again. But this is a conversation I'm willing to have with black folk. See, it's different than white folk. Because a part of me is like, white folk gonna be white folk. But just like I feel like you can't cancel people unless you Rob Kelly and Cliff Huxtable. But even then, no, I can't do it. As much as I try to see the other side, I can't do it. But it's important that I continue to have these conversations like I have with black men in particular, because they have to realize that, again, they've become the oppressor. Tyree says, dude will date them, then abuse them to cover it up. See it all the time. See it all the time. And Novastar says the percentage is high. People have to look past raw numbers. Again, exactly. Just like people saying more whites than black people are killed by cops. Those those ratios are they're skewed. And again, when we talk about the crimes committed against black folk, we're not talking about the black guy that's probably somewhere in the hospital in a coma right now because he was abused by the police. And so, listen, if it's 26 out of 100, think about it. Think about how these numbers are. They're disproportionately high. But again, I sit and I try to think about the mindset that it would have for somebody to get here. And again, it starts with the misgendering. And I'm going to leave the picture up here. It starts with the misgendering. It starts with mama named him Cassius. I'm going to call him Cassius. Because then you're not respecting me. You're not seeing me. And if you don't see me as a human being, then why wouldn't you assault me physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally? Same thing we say to white folk. If you don't see me as your brother, as your sister, as a human being, then of course you can put your knee on my neck for minutes on end. And so hence the reason why I've continued to have these type of conversations, again, specifically with brothers. Because we're usually the ones committing the violence against these individuals, as you probably saw in that video if you watched. We talking about what does leadership look like? What does leader? Are you a leader? If only black men's lives matter, and sometime Breonna Taylor's, but never Ayanna Dior. That's something internal. That's something that's taking place, and that's something internally problematic within the black community. And I have no business, no reason not to call it out. Is it comfortable? Probably not. But when is growth ever comfortable? A year ago, I wasn't having this conversation. And it's not because I didn't want to. But again, it's steps in the growth process. And so that's why I still show grace to the good brother who I was mentioning earlier, who said, yo, this is disgusting talking about the violence, even though I don't agree with the lifestyle. At least you recognize violence is bad towards black folk. Now we got to raise your level of consciousness, because it's truly a matter of life and death. Now again, thankfully she's going to be quote unquote okay, but I don't know about the emotional scars that she now has to deal with as a result of what's taking place. That goes on top of probably the rejection that she's received from the community at large. Again, we don't think about these things, right? We don't think about these things. Listen, we rolling because I got to be somewhere at 8. My man Bomani Jones coming on. You know what I mean? And that's really in the midst of the quarantine, outside of doing this show, Watching some, chill with my partner outside, of chill with my baby girl. That's like number 4 on the list because I can't get outside and I can't get to the gym. Now this last one, and when I was talking about it earlier, and we're talking about teaching white folk, and I'll bring that video back up, and why teaching white folk and enlightening white folk is emotionally taxing labor. I'm gonna let y'all hear your man Drew Brees.
Of course, you're such a leader in the league. What is your responsibility as a leader in times like this for the rest of your teammates and players in the league?
Well, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States.
Like, word. And yeah, it's called The Evening Joe. You would actually like him, Raphael. TheEveningJones.com. He's a sports commentator, but again, man, he's highly intelligent brother. Go to TheEveningJones.com. Yeah, listen, man, he ain't paying me for this ish. Let's get back to Drew Brees, bruh. It's still disrespectful? Like, that's the argument you still trying to give us out in these streets. I'm taking the hat off, man. I know you see the little spiky hair. That just show you how I'm feeling right now. Word. Like Drew Brees. It's still disrespectful to the flag to kneel. You'll never be in support of anybody who does it. Like, where the hell you been at? Like, is the thickness in your whiteness that thick? For you to still have that argument that is disrespectful to those who've been in the military. Like, bro, clearly he again, we talk about reading books. We talk about things are Googleable, right? It's black folk who participated in the military who aren't offended. It's white folk who've been in the military who aren't offended. Colin got the information from somebody who told him, listen, instead of not being present, kneel. That white man was in the military. But yet here we have this disconnect with Drew Brees. And this is where whiteness gets in the way. And this is where you just like, yo, F it. Go about your business, brother. Go about your business. And he received backlash. Some of the people giving him backlash was his teammates. Michael Thomas. We don't care if you don't agree. And whoever else, how about that? Like, that's his teammate. That's the guy who throws him the ball. Well, in reverse. He's the guy who catches the balls thrown to him. Emmanuel Sanders, football player, ignorant. Michael Thomas, again, he don't know no better. Now, that lets you into the character of an individual. When somebody who's around you, we talk about football, we talk about it being a brotherhood, we talk about it being a fraternity, and somebody says he don't know no better, that's he's just plumb dumb. LeBron James, wow, man, it is still surprising at this point. Is it still surprising at this point? Sure isn't. You literally still don't understand why Cap was kneeling on one knee. Has absolutely nothing to do with the disrespect of the flag and our soldiers, men and women, who keep our land free. My father-in-law was one of those. Richard Sherman, he's beyond laws. Guarantee you there were black men fighting alongside your grandfather, but this doesn't seem to be about that. That uncomfortable conversation you were trying to avoid by injecting military into a conversation about brutality and equality is part of the problem. Tyrann Mathieu, who's from New Orleans, Louisiana. It's like, yo, you supposed to represent us. And so I wouldn't be surprised if somebody try to knock his block off. Like, nobody's interested. Yes, you donate millions of dollars. That's a beautiful thing. But now it's starting to show that you're one of these people who donate money to causes, but you lack the ability to think critically about the situations and the reasoning behind it. Like I felt about Tiger Woods. Yo, just shut up. Just don't say anything. That's your best bet. Like, it's no way you're going to win with this situation. But again, you're a millionaire. And that was a Karen-ass statement. And what do we know about Karens and Beckys? They're so disillusioned from reality. The world fits into their white gaze. And so within their paradigm, nothing else exists. And so, yes, you can be around somebody for 10 hours a day, have conversations with them. One brother said, listen, we sat in the ice bath together. I've never sat in the ice bath with somebody else. But I know that had to be a bonding experience. Because you cold as balls. And so for them to say, listen, you smarter than that. But evidently he's not. Evidently he's not. But what he does is he represents the mindset of mainstream America. I gotta stop saying mainstream. He represents the ideals of white folk who have no idea about what's truly happening out here in this world. Leslie says, how about listening to soldiers? It's not a disconnect. That's his deep level ignorance, so F him. I agree. Raphael says, legit, every white soldier that I know supports the citizens' right to protest by taking the knee. Again, I don't know what to say. I'm starting to run out of, and this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the emotional labor related to it. Like, you get tired of it. Like, you just get sick and tired of it. And what happens when you get sick and tired of something? You want to start flipping ish up. Right? You going to start flipping shit up. And you, like Baldwin said, I'm about to play this video before I get out of here. You either going to get down or you going to lay down. Talk to him, James.
The reason that black people are in the streets has to do with the lives they're forced to lead in this country. And they're forced to lead these lives by the indifference and the apathy and a certain kind of ignorance, a very willful ignorance on the part of their co-citizens. Everybody knows, no matter what they do not know, that they wouldn't like to be a black man in this country. They know that, and they shut their minds against the rest of it, all the implications of being a black father, or a black woman, or a black son, and all of the implications involved in a human being's endeavor to take care of his wife, to take care of his children, to raise his children to be men and women in the teeth of a structure which is built to deny that I can be a human being, or that my child can be. The great question in the country has been, all the years that I've been living here, and I was born here 43 years ago, is what does the Negro want? And this question masks a terrible knowledge. I want exactly what you want. And you know what you want. I want to be left alone. I don't want any of the things that people accuse Negroes of wanting. And I don't hate you. I simply want to be able to raise my children in peace and arrive at my own maturity in my own way, in peace. I don't want to be defined by you. I think that you and I might learn a great deal from each other if you can overcome the curtain of my color. The curtain of my color is what you use to avoid facing the facts of our common history, the facts of American life. It is easy to call me a Negro or a nigger or a promising black man, but in fact, I'm a man like you. I want to live like you. This country is mine too. I paid as much for it as you. White means that you are European still, and black means that I'm African. And we both know, we've both been here too long. You can't go back to Ireland or Poland or England, and I can't go back to Africa. And we will live here together, or we'll die here together. It is not I am telling you. Time is telling you. You will listen or you will perish.
And it's straight like that. Listen, man, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, sharp, something like that. Y'all be safe, man. I'm out.